Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ally AI. Start your free trial now.
Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Hello. It's great to see you all here, all your eager little faces ready to learn. I like it. So as Gus mentioned, I'm going to be talking about how we can optimize for the shopping graph in the age of Google AI. So first things first, did any of you know that in the US at the moment, Google AI overviews are appearing in the e-commerce sector? This is a screenshot that I pulled from LinkedIn without crediting, so sorry to whoever I did that to. But this is an example of the SERPs that are starting to come out. So before I get into the bulk of my talk, I'll just break down what is in this SERP that Google has released. Firstly, we can see the classic AI overview. Here are some ideas to get you started. It's going to give you a couple of lines describing what they think the user wants. So someone's searching for new home gift ideas, and you're going to get a couple of lines as to what AI thinks that you want to see. But this is what I think is interesting. Underneath that, we have a product carousel. Now, at the moment here in the UK, the SERP is quite informational for this query, and I'll go into more depth about this in a bit. But effectively, we're seeing products pushed quite early in the buyer journey. And that's a really exciting opportunity for online retailers to start capitalizing on all of this new real estate that AI overviews is opening up for us. And it's quite easy for people to be like this guy and go, oh my God, AI overviews are coming. What the hell do we do? But I think we need to flip the way we think about it and have a glass half full attitude. We need to think, what does Google AI want from us? And so that leads me into the main part of what I'm going to discuss. And I'm going to be asking and hopefully answering 3 questions. The first of which, how is Google producing e-commerce AIOs? We'd love to know the answer. Google probably isn't going to tell us exactly how they do things, but I've got some theories. A couple of other SEOs in the industry think this is true as well, so it's not just me talking rubbish. I'm going to think about how e-commerce AIOs could look in the buyer journey, and you'll see some examples of some terrible artwork that I've done, so you can have a laugh in a bit. I've basically imagined what I think AI overviews could look like at various stages of the buyer journey. I have been in the industry for about a decade, so hopefully some of my predictions come true, because it would be embarrassing otherwise. And then finally, I'm going to give some practical advice, some things to think about. How can SEOs optimize for e-commerce AIOs? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're not trying to completely reimagine SEO optimization, but there are some things that we can think about differently. So first things first, I'm going to just make sure we all understand what the shopping graph is. It's effectively a massive product database. Every product you could ever want to buy online is stored in this database or repository or library. Now, I've said the word library, you'll see why in a bit. So it exists basically to pull information and make it all available, and it pulls from a number of sources, as you can see. Product reviews, YouTube videos, I'm not going to read them out, you can all read, but lots of sources pulled from these. And why does it exist? Well, ultimately for the user. So basically, we want to make sure that the user gets the exact product that they're looking for, whether they're looking for a certain color, a certain size, whether it's in stock. The shopping graph exists to service that need. So now let's get on to my theory of how I think Google is producing these e-commerce AIOs. Shopping graph plus this AI technique, retrieval augmented generation, or RAG for short, much easier to pronounce and remember. I think that these 2 components are combining to produce the AI overviews. So the best way I describe how this process works is to use a metaphor of a library. There we go. So imagine that the shopping graph is this huge galactic library full of all these books, and each book resembles a product. And within each of these books are all the attributes that make up that product. Now let's imagine that we're entering the library and we've got a research project. We've got to answer this essay question that somebody's put forward. So we don't know where to go. We need a bit of help. That's where Belle from Beauty and the Beast, that's where RAG comes in. RAG is effectively the librarian. The librarian knows the landscape better than you, and it can also speed up the process. It comes in, it swoops in, like Belle does here, and it produces a nice little stack of books that will help you to do your project without having to trawl through the library and spend many hours looking for the answers. So then you can sit down with your stack of books and produce the answer to the question, much like this lady is here. I've forgotten the name of the show, but I did love it as a kid. So that is where AI Overviews is writing the answer to your question using the large language model, or LLM, to create a good response. So some key takeaways here, just to catch up. Google AI clearly values product data. That's why it's pulling from the shopping graph. And we now know from that example at the start that some new real estate is coming. We have a lot of product carousels that are being shown much more visibly. We have a lot of spotlights being made available for retailers. So how could this actually look in the buyer journey? And in real terms, how could this impact brands on a day-to-day basis? Well, let's have a think about this. How could they look in the buyer funnel? Many of you will probably be familiar with what the buyer journey or the buyer funnel looks like. You'll have seen some version of this, so I won't talk through it because this isn't, a classroom. But effectively, at the top of the funnel, we've got consideration. Then the user starts thinking about exploring in more depth the product they want to buy. They're researching, they're seeking reviews, and then at the end, once they've looked up some retailers, they're ready to convert and make a purchase. So what I'm going to do is share 2 examples. If you would like to see the full version of all the terrible art that I've done, that is the link to my slide deck. But I'm going to share 2 examples today, just for time's sake, where I've imagined what AI overviews in the retail space could look like. So at the moment, for example 1, I've taken that example from the beginning and I've added the word best to it for some reason. But best new home gift ideas, this is what the SERP is looking like. We have an editorial roundup at the top, and people can click onto that, look at all the different ideas. They can click back out, look at the people also ask, and then look at some more roundups further down. But based on what Google's already doing in the US, I've imagined it could look something like this. So as we saw at the start, we have some ideas to get you started. We have a couple of lines, and then we have a product carousel where we can see some examples. We can see that AI has gone, okay, these products are most relevant to the query. I'm going to pull these. And what I've also done is added a little add a follow-up, ask a follow-up feature underneath. We've seen this in some SERPs at the moment with AIO. Some informational queries are letting you ask follow-up questions. And so I've imagined that this could happen here as well. So you can actually refine your search by looking at these generated prompts without having to go in and manually type something else. You don't have to think as much. Google's doing the work for you, basically. So that's my first example. I'm now going to jump down a few rungs in the buyer funnel. As I say, the full version's on my slide deck online. But this is a few steps down, and we've imagined that the user has decided that the gift they're going to buy for this person is a gift basket. And they've got a few ideas of what they want to buy, but they just want to look at some customer reviews, see if they've got the right idea, is what they're going to get, does it match up in terms of the real experience people have had. So this is the SERP at the moment, and effectively it is a list of resources, a list of review pages from retailers, and it's kind of expected of the user that they're going to manually click onto each of these pages, read through the reviews, what are the 1-star, what are the 4-star, is this product worth buying? And then they can think about it, and it might take a couple of hours, it might even take a few days to have a think and a ruminate. But what we know that Google wants to do is to remove what they call the messy middle. So all of that thinking, all of that time that's taken to do your product research, and what they could do instead is something like this. So here we see that AI has spotlighted a few particular products, and I've just shown one here. So, for example, I've imagined that a John Lewis gift basket has appeared at the top of the SERP for this AIO. And what we've got here is next to the nice little image and the star rating and all those other schema attributes that can be pulled through anyway, we have a couple of paragraphs where what AI has done is it's gone through all the review content for that product and it's summarized it. So the user doesn't have to go in manually, but instead they get a nice summary. Oh, okay, people like the packaging for this one. The delivery was quick, good range of products. Okay, I'm ready to buy. And like I said, more real estate, this actually means that people are more likely to click through if they've got this nice summary presented to them on a plate. So key takeaways at this point. There are a number of things that I think that AIO is going to do. I think they're going to make product carousels much more prominent. I think they're going to make people's lives easier with follow-up questions that people can ask. I think that AI is going to pick particular product types to highlight, and we want to make sure that we are spotlighted. I think that it's going to summarize review content, and that is effectively user-generated content, and I'll return to this in a minute. And overall, people will have to spend less time researching, because after all, Google wants to service the user, and so the research experience will become much more convenient. So what can SEOs do? Well, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, as I say, but I think there are some things that are going to be worth thinking about. We all know that, Ed kindly mentioned, not for my convenience, but it is convenient for me, that basically Google signed a deal with Reddit to start using its huge database of content to train its AI. And so we know that Google cares a lot about user-generated content and not just the sort of editorial roundups that content marketers put out to try and get ranking quickly. They want more authentic content by users for users. So the first thing I think is going to be important is sentiment analysis. And this is something that we might see quite a lot in the world of social media. We see professionals using tools like Sprout to see, okay, is the sentiment for our brand, our set of products, is it largely positive? Is it negative? How can we fix that? So there are a few things that I think are going to become important. It will be important to use dedicated tools in the same way as social media experts do, and to run regular analysis, not just on your main product pages, but also elsewhere, other places that people are looking and reviewing your products like Reddit, Quora, YouTube, because I'm pretty sure that over time, AI Overviews is going to place more of an emphasis on this UGC and pull in from your website, but also those third-party resources and forums as well, to then summarize what the average sentiment and reviews are for your products. And that leads me nicely into the next point that I think will be important, which is something I call review process optimization. Now, I talk about this in a bit more depth in a webinar I gave for my agency Skittle a few weeks ago, but just to give a top-level overview, there are a lot of retailers doing some version of this already, but I think it will be increasingly important to do this. Effectively, we want to make sure that the reviews we have on our product pages are as useful as possible. If somebody has parted with their money and purchased your product and is prepared to leave a review, you don't want to be left with a review that just says, yeah, it was great, thanks, yeah, loved it. Ideally, you want something, like a model essay response. It would say, these trainers, really durable, I love they came in all these colors, I wore them for my marathon, people loved them, they complimented me. You want all of these different attributes to be mentioned in a natural way. And so it will be really important for e-commerce brands to list out the attributes per product that they want to appear in user-generated content, and then develop questions and a process that they can ask people reviewing the products, that they can then incorporate into the process when people leave a review. And it will probably be important to consider user testing and user research so that people go, yeah, I'm all right leaving a review, I'm all right answering these questions, and then from your end, you make sure that it appears as naturally as possible and gives you a good volume of UGC on your product page. And the final thing to consider is sales data. If you're working fairly siloed at the moment as an SEO, it will be even more important to work with your sales team. Make sure that you know what the popular products are on your site. because I have a hunch these are the products that AI is going to be prioritizing when it is spotlighting your products in the AI overviews. Make sure that these product pages are optimized for UGC. Keep an especially close eye on the sentiment. Make sure you've got a good body of reviews that mention as many attributes as possible. And overall, just make sure that those are the priority. I've gone through this talk really, really quick. We've got 5 minutes extra that you can now claim back, more time for your coffee. If you would like to connect with me, here is my QR code. You can ask me for the full version of the talk, some of my talk notes, some of my crazy predictions. And you can also, if you see me today, ask me any questions too. But thank you very much for my whistle-stop tour, for listening to this. And it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.